So in today's video, I want to go over all of the controls here in Gods of Asgard, starting with some of the more basic stuff that a lot of people might know about, but moving into the more in-depth stuff as far as sidearms and grenades go. So in Gods of Asgard here, you're going to be moving around using your typical W, A, S, and D. W moves you forward, S backwards, and A and D will move you to the left and to the right. At the bottom of the screen, you can see that all of the buttons are numbered as well, or labeled, so that you know which buttons do what for which abilities. So if I hit X here, it's going to make me parry, where I hold my sword in a more forward position to block some incoming damage. We've got the E, which is going to pop off your heal. We have skill number 1, which throws out that guy for Heimdall. Skill 2. And skill number 3. So those are all the really basic stuff that a lot of people know about. But moving into the more complex stuff, we also have sidearms and grenades. So on the right side of the screen, you can see all of the little diamonds there in the corner. So if I scroll through using the Q button, you can see how it highlights different abilities and different skills on the right side. So for this, for example, if I go down to the third one and I scope in using my right click, right? So to use your sidearm or grenades, you have to scroll through with Q to get onto the right one, and then right click to scope it and get ready to utilize it. So from here, I'm going to be throwing down this grenade, and it is a shockwave grenade, which whoever is near that, it'll launch them into the air. And this is a really good thing to use. Most of the time, you're probably gonna end up using it to rotate or disengage from a fight. If you're taking a lot of damage and you need to go somewhere else to heal, you can throw that grenade down, get to a safe spot, hit the heal. And another really useful thing to use the shockwave grenade for is to hit opponents away. A lot of people will usually do this towards the end of the game when the storm is moving in, because whenever there's a storm, if somebody gets knocked into it, it'll deal a ton of damage to them and they will not be able to escape that storm. So if you ever see anybody playing towards the edge of zone, just go ahead and throw a nice little shockwave over at them, and that'll explode and deal a lot of damage to them by throwing them into the storm and getting them killed. So moving into the next sidearm here, if we click Q to scroll down once more, now we have the clone grenade. So if I throw these grenades down onto the ground here, you're going to see all of these clones run around on the map, and that is very, very good for confusing your opponents and making them wonder which one is the real guy. Usually that'll buy you enough time to rotate out of the battlefield, but in other ways you can use it is to rotate or to cause confusion in the middle of a fight, and you'll be able to find a lot of really good value doing that as well. And the third and final sidearm that we have right here is going to be a stun grenade. So if an opponent is running up to me and I throw down this stun grenade, that will pretty much freeze them up. They'll be stuck and locked in one place, and that is super, super huge for obvious reasons. If the opponent can't move, then you'll be able to get a free ability onto them, and chain abilities even. So if I throw down this stun grenade here and then they're stuck, you know, then we throw down skill 3, skill 2, whatever you want to do, and that'll just chain that into them, and you'll be able to get yourself a lot of free kills. Another really cool thing is that every single god in this game has their own individual sidearm that you can use that is unique to them, and it's going to be the second object on the screen, the second diamond rather on the screen. So for Heimdall, you can see that right there, we have it highlighted. And for Heimdall, whenever you scope in and you get ready to use your sidearm, you will essentially teleport across the map. So you'll be able to go like boom and make yourself a pretty big distance in between the fights. This is a very, very good ability for causing confusion. You can escape really easily in a lot of fights, but one of my favorite things to do with this is to pop up behind your opponents, because Heimdall has a very, very strong melee attack. So if my opponent is that rock, for example, and I'm trying to pull up on them in the middle of a fight, I'm standing in front of them, they go to cast a spell, and I go boom, and all of a sudden I'm behind them. Now I can melee them down, and they'll be super weak, or I can then throw in an ability as well. Freya has some really nice sidearm abilities as well. So for Freya, you have all of these arrows. So whenever you scope in and fire, you will shoot a nice firing arrow. The great thing about this arrow is you can actually pop it while you're in the air too, and you can spam them pretty fast. So if somebody's coming, you can apply a lot of offensive pressure by using her sidearm ability. Next we have Thor. So Thor's sidearm is of course going to include using his hammer. So whenever you scope in with the right click and look at your opponent and utilize your sidearm, you'll see this massive hammer come out, and it goes pretty far. Wherever it lands, it does massive, massive, massive damage. So you can actually find yourself some incredible value by dealing damage to multiple opponents at the same time. And finally, we have the Godfather, Odin. Odin has a wonderful sidearm with his staff. He has this beam whenever you point in at a target and zap. It does massive damage, and you can just absolutely torture your opponents into the ground. Finally, I do want to talk about a couple of more basic buttons that I completely forgot about before I dive straight into the sidearms. But you have shift. Whenever you use shift, your character is going to sprint, which means that you run a lot faster. You can utilize this whenever you're running away or running at an opponent in order to close the distance. It's also very good for dodging certain abilities if they are slower at traveling. And then finally, we have C, which is going to roll. So you'll be able to roll, and you can roll in any direction, whether it's forward, backwards, or to the side. That one is super good for evading abilities. And sometimes if the opponent gets way too close for comfort and you need time to be able to utilize a different spell, then you can also use C to roll that way as well. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope I see you in the next one.